Hebrews, Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 25th of February, 2023. Uh, I'll be dealing with the morning and the evening class pertaining to this topic, part one and part two. It's the Lord's house has been hijacked, and I want to go in how it started and how we got to where we are today. Okay, with all the deceptions. So, I'm asking everybody before we get started to remind them that you can go to our YouTube channel on Prophets of Awakening and check out our videos. There's a lot of information given, and the videos will take you to the truth, lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you are hearing and receiving through the videos, I'm asking you to like and share and subscribe to our the channel, Prophets of Awakening. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. And by that I mean we deal with the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah, which are the first five books of the Old Testament: Genesis, uh, and Exodus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, and Joshua. And those books were conveyed to Moses by the Lord of Hosts once Moses came on the scene. So I want to say shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening. Welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a Sabbath prayer. We're going to read the Psalms. We're going to deal with some current events. And then we'll go into our, we'll do some Q&A, and then we'll go into our lesson. Okay? So this moment of silence is for Yahweh, our Creator, and the Lord of Hosts, our Redeemer, and all that they're doing to bring about the prophecies of our deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before you at this hour on your day that you have given on us for the Shabbat, praising you and honoring you because of your position, both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. And through your Spirit and your counsel, O Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. We're thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching the Scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. We love you. We seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. We see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay. We'll read a psalm. Quick. Okay. So I'm going to read Psalm 32. It's a psalm of David. It's blessedness of forgiveness. Blessed is blessed is he whose transgressions is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no God. When I keep silent, my bones wax old through my ruin all the day long. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. Selah, I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. For this shall every one that is godly pray unto thee in a time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the flood of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Selah, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with my eye. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. Be glad in the Lord, rejoice, ye righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart. Okay, so this song really got a lot in it, but I just want to shine a light on a couple of things. Uh, uh, to the people now that's waking up as Christians, as Hebrew Israelites, proclaiming to be Israelites. I'm gonna read verse 9. It says, "Be ye not as the horse, or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with a bit and a bridle, lest they come near unto thee." Let that firmate. So a lot of people say that um, you know they can't imagine David being the Messiah because they say the sins, the atrocities that he done in this early part of his life. But we see right here in this song. We see right here in this song that David, he was forgiven of that, and that's the difference in David and all his sons that sit upon the throne after him. It says in verse 4, "For day and night," this is David talking, Psalm of David. "For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of the summer Selah." So Most High is constantly checking him, right? Verse 5, "I acknowledge my sin." See that? We go back to the scriptures, you will see in 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, they didn't do that. They just went from one sin to the next until Most High had to do something with them. But David says, "I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess," right? "I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin." Selah. So what is David talking about? 2 Samuel chapter 23. He says he confessed his sins and the Lord forgave him, right? So that's the end of the matter. The Lord forgave him. Then what somebody else say don't mean nothing. Let me get it. 2 Samuel 23. So let me get it. Yeah, 22. This is a song of David. And David tells us in verse 19, I started it. Says, "They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth also in the Lord's place. He delivered me because he delighted in me." Now here we go. This is what David's talking about in Psalm 32. "The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness." So he got it right. "According to the cleanliness of my hands have he recompensed me. I have kept the ways of the Lord, and I have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me, and as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. I was also upright before him, and have kept myself from mine iniquities." That's what he was talking about in Psalm 32. "Therefore, the Lord hath recompensed me according to my righteousness, and according to my cleanliness of my eyesight. With the merciful, thou shalt show thyself merciful, and with the upright, thou shalt show thyself upright." So David understood that all he had to do was straighten himself out and correct the things that he was doing that wasn't right in the Most High, and he started walking upright before the Lord. Then when David passed, these ungodly spirits tried to prevent him from ascending into heaven, where his soul came from, but the Lord came and got him. And when he got him, he recompensed righteousness on him. So no matter what some Christian or some man on the earth say, it don't mean nothing, because the Most High received David, and because he corrected all those things that happened to him, he recompensed it on him. Okay, Somebody said Psalms 18. Let me see what's up with that. Psalms 18. Okay. Psalms 18. Okay. Okay, yeah. Since Thanksgiving for deliverance, I'll read a couple verses. I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer and my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my butler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. Okay. And I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. Okay. Yeah. So we'll come back to that too, because I'll be able to use that verse 2 in a minute. In the rock. It's tied right into what I'm dealing with today. So I'm gonna come back to that Psalms 18 and 2 later on in class. Appreciate that information. Okay. So with that being said, we'll do some current events.
Wasn't cool. Now it seems like they're making it cool to be drinking lean syrup and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So what the video is about is what Kanye was ranting about, the little stint they had when they was harassing him and all that. He was trying to tell the people what was going on and why they was attacking him all of a sudden.
Artists that would promote that. It's opportunistic. Yeah, I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Before I come in, let's listen to Kanye speak about the same issue.
If you go to Apple right now, go to Apple Music. Let's load up the top 10 songs. I guarantee you, they're promoting black serial killing.
Absolutely.
Not just one. They're promoting black. The red media is making money off of blacks being serial killers to each other. Also misogynistic. The red media is making money off of that.
Those who despise Mr. West or supported his cancellation, what wrong did he do or say that isn't true? Are you certain he is the right person to be canceled? It hurts me that my people can't open their eyes to see the truth, or maybe we are just ignorant. This man couldn't even deny anything. In fact, he seemed proud saying what he said, admitting that he promotes such evil, dirty and corrupt music because that's how he feeds his family. They don't care about us, my people. They don't. We are fighting against agents of devils, cold and dark souls. The worst thing is these culture vultures are everywhere promoting evil, especially in black communities, and yet a black fella has the audacity to shame Kanye for standing up for the black community. These elites will continue to take advantage of us unless we become united and do something about it.
Here's the truth. The truth is this. A bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry's obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people. But they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it.
Kanye and this former music executive are fully aware of what goes on behind closed doors in this sick industry. But even though we don't know what happens in the dark, we know and have seen the results of the deals done in the dark by these weak and money-loving artists. These artists are brainwashed and only care about money and nothing else. These elites don't want a functioning society, so they are trying by all means to destroy it, and the best and quickest way to do it is through the music and movies we love. We must be extremely cautious about what we consume, especially children. Kids are more vulnerable because they can't make solid decisions for themselves. Keep children away from this useless and destructive music and movies. These people are only here to destroy, steal, and kill. That's why we need to be awake, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so we see right here what Kanye was talking about, and it's all through the scriptures. Matter of fact, it's been hidden from us when he said that they using the music and the lyrics to impose this spirit that's being portrayed over us as a people. And these rappers will last for a minute, get a little money, but they die. And so you say, what's the origins of all that? I'm gonna just read a little bit of it. You can go back on and check it out on your own time. But we see I kind of read a little bit of this the other day. It's in chapter 7. Just like we have Melchizedek, which is a title, which is what the forefathers before the flood, the 10 men before the flood, was Melchizedek. They were teachers of righteousness. But we see right here in Genesis chapter 7, these fallen angels came down, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of it. It says, and all the others together with them took to themselves wives, and each chose himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and defile themselves with them, and they taught them. See that? They taught them charms, enchantments, cutting the roots, and they made them acquainted with herbs, and they became pregnant, and they bore great giants whose height were 3,000 ells, and it keep going. So Jahazah taught enchantments, cutting the roots. So this is what they're using into music. What was taught right here is spells. They did the same thing, or they taught them how to do that. They're using that same thing now. They put spells and enchantments and all this on these scriptures in the New Testament. Spells. That's like what they're doing with the music. Same thing they did with the New Testament. They're doing with music. But it's being directed at a certain people. That's why you see right now, we the ones caught up. We Most High done poured the Spirit out like He promised on us as a people. But these spells and all what they done with the New Testament, a lot of people ain't getting it. Same thing with the rap culture. And so, like I said before, we in the beast system. And we've been in the beast system. The fourth beast is the actual beast system. And so many people waiting on the beast system to come, but we're in the midst of it. And all it is what was taught by these fallen angels taught their children. Satan taught his children. It's being used on us. When Israel fell, that system was brought in place. Okay? But we're going to get into that. We get into the lesson, which is the Lord of Hosts' house, which is the temple that was in Jerusalem. It's been hijacked. Everything pertaining to it and the goings on of it, all of it has been hijacked. And we're gonna go into that. Okay? So we got another current event right here.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I want to show you something very, very disturbing. But these things that we show you sometimes simply prove the point that we try to make over and over, right? So in this video that I'm going to show you, there's actually a mob, men and women, might I add. They are physically putting their hands on a 73-year-old white man for simply wearing a BLM t-shirt. They are so offended by it that they completely overlook his skin color and the fact that he too is a white man. So take a look at this and listen at the things they accuse him of because he's wearing the t-shirt. I'm like, wow, this is what we keep talking about. Some people are becoming undone and unhinged in this world. And this video right here proves exactly what we're talking about. That perpetual thing, you know what the Bible says? That it was going to burn in them forever and ever. So even if you support them by wearing a t-shirt, in their eyes, you're just as bad. Take a look.
Yes.
For adventure.
come everybody's lives don't matter? How come the unborn kids' lives don't matter? Yeah, go ahead and tape it. Put it on YouTube. Yeah, why don't you put it on yourself, you murdering damn bastard?
Who said that? Who said you could stay? Who do you think you are? Who?
I'm a retired policeman. Your conduct is abhorrent. It's abhorrent. You're going to be arrested and charged with assault.
Wow. Ain't that something? They even accused him. Did you all catch the part where they called him a murderer? You know what I mean? They called him that because he's wearing a t-shirt. This stuff is so mind-blowing at times, but it testifies of what we continue to say over and over, that something is going on. There's a very spiritual battle that people are having within their flesh, and they don't even know how to make heads or tails of it. But because of this thing that burns in them so badly, it burns in them so badly that they will even come for their own if you dare try to help or support. So why do you think that is? It has absolutely not. I'm telling y'all, it's not skin color. There is a spiritual war going on, a spiritual warfare. And that's the only way I can explain it, because that's what it is. They can't help it. So
Yeah, it's like I said, it's two different manner of people. That's what it is. Same going on in households all over America. You got kids born, but they got different parents. Two different fathers and the kid from two different fathers in the house. Well, that's grounds for a war. There's two manners of kids, and they ain't from the same father. That's what's happening all over the place. But this right here is the most I tell you is wicked children of wickedness, and then his people. And because of what they done, they done mingled us all together. Most High had us separated. But now we living amongst them, and they concocted all these concoctions they had and created this system that got in place, and now the Most High waking us up, and they see that we being separated again. They showing their true colors. It's not just on this particular video right here. I mean, if your eyes open, you can see it all over the place. You can see that it's like with Cain, they countenance and change because they see what's happening. So they're not, they at the point now where they didn't attack the White House. It's just gonna get worse and worse.
even if you try to help someone by simply wearing a t-shirt, this man didn't lift a finger to do anything. He's just wearing a t-shirt. And so this guy says, what about babies? What unborn babies? What about this? Nobody said that those didn't. So, and they act like they don't understand what people mean when they say Black Lives Matter. The only reason why that came about is because it seems like all lives but Black Lives Matter. So I wonder what their excuse would have been if it was called Black Lives Matter 2 or Black Lives Matter also. What would the excuse have been then? Because that's all this is about. When you say Black Lives Matter, nobody's saying that the lives of unborn children or nobody else's life matters. We're just saying, look, can you see what your ancestors have done to Black lives over the centuries? Can you see what continues to be done to Black lives right now today? Can you see the policies enacted against Black lives all over the planet? Can you see the injustices? Right? And it's almost as if they are blind to it, like they can't see it and they refuse to acknowledge it. And so this is why and how they justify saying the things that they say. And if you even dare show any bit of support, then you are a traitor, you are an enemy. Even, listen, back during slavery days, when they were establishing the Underground Railroad, we know that the majority of those who had the houses to help slaves were white people. These were white people who said, look, I'm going to protect you if you come here on our land. We have a safe place for you until trouble passes, right? We will assure them that we didn't see you. We're going to help you get to the next point, right? These were white people for the most part. Not saying that there were no others that existed, but the majority of them were white people helping those through the Underground Railroad, right? But guess what? If other white folk who were hunting Negroes, if they found out that you were helping these Negroes, guess what they would do to you? What would happen to you if you dared to help a poor child, a poor mother, a poor family, a pregnant woman who just happened to be a Negro, just helping them, feeding them, doing anything? What would happen to you? You would lose your life. They would delete you. Or they would do something heinous to you. So in that instant, tell me who's the sane one? Who's the one that's sane? The one that's helping the poor people? Or the one who is deleting people for helping the poor people? See, when you frame it up a certain way, you can really see who is psychotic. You can really see who has lost their cotton-picking mind.
Okay. Any comments? Anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Yeah, so like I said before, it's a clear division. Once your eyes are open, you can see it's a clear division with those people and us. He said that in Deuteronomy 28, he's going to cast us among our enemies. So if you're paying attention to their behavior, you can see that they are our enemies. We didn't really originate from the same place. Okay? So let me give you just a little need to know information, and then we'll go into the lesson.
A new world order is emerging, a new axis of world powers with common grievances and one common enemy. No prizes for guessing which one, the United States of America, a country which has for decades tried to shape our world in its image and established its preeminence in almost every facet of power, be it military, economy, technology, culture, or morality for that matter. It is America the world looks up to, all thanks to its global influence networks and, of course, the American PR machinery. But what if I tell you that things are changing? That America's global empire is crumbling, the hegemony of Western nations is dying, and a new alliance is looking to replace it, an alliance led by three countries: Russia, China, and Iran. The three most sanctioned countries in the world. They seem to have formed a rather informal alliance of convenience, a loose alliance of sorts which the West is calling a troika of tyranny, and a triad of bullies. What have they done to deserve such titles, and can they really reshape the prevailing world order? Or will they instead push the world into further disorder? And above everything else, where does India fit in this new axis? Does it have any reason to worry? We'll find out over the next few minutes. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. My name is Priyanka Sharma. A new global alliance is now in the making, an alliance between China, Iran, and Moscow. They're forging their strategic, defense, and economic ties. It doesn't take a genius to notice the pattern. Just look at some recent developments. Ever since Russia invaded Ukraine, the three countries have come closer. Yes, China is uncomfortable with the war, but it still provides Russia with a diplomatic umbrella. It is also helping Moscow economically by rejecting the G7's price caps on oil. The same case with Iran. It is still buying Russian oil and sending weapons in return. Yes, for the last 1 year, Tehran has sent countless kamikaze drones. And if reports are to be believed, it might just send ballistic missiles by this October. These deals are being accompanied by state visits. Leaders and officials from all three countries have been frequently flying to each other's capitals. In July last year, the Russian president went to Tehran. He met his counterpart, Ibrahim Raisi, and discussed strengthening bilateral ties. Contrary to expectations, Iran didn't downplay this visit. In fact, it rolled out a red carpet for Vladimir Putin. The Iranian oil minister personally went to greet Putin. And then in November, a group of Russian security officials visited Iran. Their aim was to find ways to counter Western pressure on both countries. Syria is another good example. Another good example of the Iranian and Russian interests coming together. For years now, both sides have been trying to keep Bashar al-Assad in power. Their only aim is to counter American interests in Syria. Just last week, the US shot down Iranian-made spy drones in Syria. And if we speak of Russia, despite being militarily involved in Ukraine, Russia still maintains a military presence in Syria, an indication that it's not leaving the country anytime soon. And if we speak of Russian and Iranian cooperation in Syria, it's a tale that gets murkier the deeper you dig. Russia continues to provide a decisive cover to Syrian and Iranian-backed ground forces in Syria. And then, of course, we have China. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russia's Putin recently caught up over a phone call. This was around New Year's Eve. The two sides released statements saying the ties are at their historic best. What's more, Putin said he's expecting a state visit from Xi Jinping soon. "We are expecting you, dear friend," was the message from Moscow. We are hardly surprised. The entire world knows about China's bonhomie with Russia, and we focus on China's love affair with Iran, an affair getting intense by the day. You see, in 2021, China and Iran signed a 25-year comprehensive strategic partnership deal, a deal that has given China its deepest ever foothold in Iran, with many Iranians even saying that the deal has literally sold Iran to China. But the Islamic Republic's leadership doesn't see it that way. Why?
This is the AccuBrush paint edging system, which you are seeing in use right here.
In return, Iran was made a permanent member of the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a body led by China. It's the largest regional organization in terms of world population, global GDP, and geographic scope. Iran's membership in this body does little for the region it represents, but more for the powers that run it, Russia and China. With Iran on their side, their ambitions of countering the West get greater legitimacy and support. For Iran, this membership helps it battle the economic isolation from the West. So it's a win-win deal of sorts. In December last year, China's Vice Premier Hu Shunhua flew down to Tehran, and more recently, Iran's president visited China, Ebrahim Raisi. He was in Beijing from the 14th of February to the 16th. The Chinese president gave him a red carpet welcome, followed by a guard of honor by the Chinese military. The arrangements were grand, to say the least. They had to be. After all, this was the first state visit by an Iranian leader to China in almost 2 decades, and Raisi didn't go to Beijing alone. He took along a huge entourage of ministers. The biggest Iranian delegation to Beijing ever. This included 6 members of Raisi's cabinet. In an editorial about the visit, China's mouthpiece, the Global Times, said that the visit was proof that an anti-Western front is growing. Allow me to quote the most telling excerpt from the report. It said, "China's deepening cooperation with Iran also has an anti-hegemony and anti-bullying feature. Both China and Iran uphold independent foreign policies, firmly defend the principle of non-interference in internal affairs on international occasions. If anyone feels targeted in this process, then they should first reflect on whether they are too selfish." So how do we perceive such statements and developments? Do they indicate the consolidation of an anti-Western axis? Do they indicate the rise of a new world order? It certainly seems like it, and the American media can't stop talking about it. For the last 2 months, there have been endless reports of how China, Iran, and Moscow had joined hands against the West, how Washington will have to take on all 3 at the same time. And not just these 3. Reports say the triad also has a posse of sorcerers' apprentices. What do I mean by that? Smaller nations that agree with their vision, namely Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cambodia, Myanmar, and the most important of them all, North Korea, a country which of late has been flexing its ballistic muscles way too much. So to put it simply, China, Russia, and Iran want to unite all like-minded countries behind them and use them as a solid front to counter Western hegemony.
Okay. So what we're looking at, like I was saying, the time of the Gentiles is at the end. This right here is a sign of it. He says that we see in the scriptures, which is tied to the reason why I've been having these conversations of late, and I decided to do this bring about the process on how the Lord's house got hijacked and how we got to where we are today. But he prophesied, he told us that the Gentiles was coming, and which are the third and the fourth beast. And then he said, he told us, everybody assuming that it's Jesus and, his father, which is saying your Lord of hosts, saying it's Yahweh, is doing all this. But when you understand who the Lord of hosts is and what was given to him, authority that was given to him, we see that it's him. Examples of that is, without getting too deep into it, is when Hezekiah, the Syrians showed up at the wall in Jerusalem. Hezekiah had a problem. The Syrians was going to destroy Jerusalem. Well, the angel of the Lord of hosts showed up. Not Jesus, not Yahweh. The angel of the Lord showed up and killed the whole army overnight. And in Genesis 18, Abraham was looking for a son. He didn't have no son. The angel of the Lord showed up with two other angels in Genesis 18 and gave Abraham a son, caused Sarah to be pregnant, and he went and dealt with Sodom and Gomorrah. Because that's his role. And so he's already told us, we see how Israel got beside itself, and he brought Nebuchadnezzar and cut Israel off. Then when Nebuchadnezzar did what he had to do, he brought Cyrus to cut Nebuchadnezzar off. Well, we see the same thing happening now. And understanding who behind it. He's raising up China, Russia, and Iran because America is at his end to cut them off. All that's happening is prophecy from long ago. They being fulfilled. That's all we're looking at. People just got it twisted on who's behind it, who's orchestrating. Same being that orchestrated the fall of Egypt, same one is orchestrating the fall of America. Playing out right in, playing out in front of our face, right? So I'm just lining it out. So I'm gonna open up for some Q&A right now, questions and comments before we go into the lesson. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything they heard before we go into the lesson? Okay, what's up, D-Ray?
Shalom, shalom, fam.
Okay, yeah. So, we're going. So the topic I was saying is the Lord of Hosts house. The Lord of Hosts house has been hijacked, and so when you say Lord of Hosts house, to explain that, we know that Yahweh is in the heavens of heaven. He got a house. His house is in heaven. So who is his house that's in Jerusalem? It's the Lord of Hosts, who I was just telling you about. Yahweh's house is in heaven, and the Lord of Hosts house is in Jerusalem, his footstool. Right? Lord of Hosts, two different beings. So this house got hijacked when they concocted the New Testament. So my point is to show you through scripture and through history how did it come about and how was it performed, right? So we're gonna start out with Daniel when the Greeks came on the scene, which is Gentiles. The third beast is Gentiles, and the fourth beast, which is Romans, is Gentiles. They all out of Genesis chapter 10. So we're gonna look at this. We're gonna read that first in Genesis chapter. We're going somewhere with this. It may seem like it's business as usual, but we're going somewhere. All right. So first of all, I'm gonna read Zechariah chapter. To make it plain on who Lord House is. I'm in Zechariah. Okay. Page is tripping. Okay. Zechariah chapter 14, right? Verses 20 and 21. It says, in that day, this ain't happened, this is what we waiting on. It says, in that day there shall be upon the bells of horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots of the Lord's house shall be like the bowls. Say, the pots of the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. 21. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. Right? And all they that sacrifice shall come and take them and see therein. And in that day there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. So I don't know if you've been reading over there or not, but we see right here, tells you the house is in Jerusalem for the Lord of hosts. The house of the Lord of hosts. And the title of this lesson is the Lord's house been hijacked. The Lord of hosts house been hijacked. So we're gonna through scripture and connecting dots, we're gonna show you what happened. So the process is that Daniel tells us, let me get it, Daniel chapter 8 is where it started. Okay, let's look at it. Daniel chapter 8.
What is it
What is
again?
this again?
Daniel chapter 8. Okay. And what happened was, everybody should know this by now. We've been over and over it. I'm just going all the way back doing a recap for, refresh people's mind, and for the people that don't know about this. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel had a vision of a ram and a he goat. Then we know in chapter 5, starting at verse 15, Daniel was given an interpretation by Gabriel. And so, I feel the need to have to read that, so don't take it lightly. So it came to pass, Daniel 8 and 15, when it came to pass, when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision, sought for the meaning, then, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand. So I came near where I stood, and when I came, I was afraid, and I fell upon my face. That says, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time of the end shall be the vision. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee understand what shall be in the last end of indignation, for the time appointed, the end shall be. So what he's telling him, Gabriel is telling him, it's the end of Jerusalem as a nation, not the end of the world. So what that entails, it entails the temple that's built there. These Israelites had got beside themselves because they was dealing with these angels, and they had the house of the Lord there, and they marveled at it. They had pride in it. They had got beside themselves. This was like they had been in like 14 different captivities, so they had got complacent, thinking that we can do this, and he gonna chastise us, but we gonna come right back. The temple gonna stay there. So his objective is now his indignation that came to a full. So he's gonna get rid of his house. He's gonna scatter them, and he's gonna get rid of his house. And so what we're getting ready to witness is the process in which it's happened, which is gonna shock and amaze you, right? So he says, uh, 20. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of the Medes and Persians, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, right? We know that's Alexander. Then it says, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of their nation, but not in its power, right? And in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors shall come to a full, A king of fierce countenance and all understanding dark sentences shall stand up. So let's go into that right quick. Give you some illustrations. So it says uh, that uh, when Alexander passed away, let me read that. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So it says, yeah, 22. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in its power. So Alexander, right before Alexander died, understanding that Alexander is an Edomite. His grandfather was Zephno, so he's Edomite. He's ruled. They the ruling authority over the Greeks, but they are Macedonians, which are Edomites. He's out of the house of Zephno, which is one of Esau's sons. So before he passed away, he took four other Edomites that was from his same nation and gave them and divided the kingdom into four parts. One of them was Ptolemy. That's who it is right here. Let me show you this. Okay. See it right here? This Ptolemy right here. And so this is the beginnings of how Most High and his people and his household and his land got hijacked. So this guy right here, this Ptolemy, and then what happened was we noticed that once he came into the land, he came in and they made a god out of him, which is Serapis. So this is important. So when you understand that you had Osiris and you had Isis, all these deities and these people within Egypt, they had a cult, a following with them. So and they had a priesthood. So Isis got a priesthood. That's who Mary is. This guy here, Serapis, had a priesthood, right? This, which is where we're gonna get there in a minute, but eventually they was ran out of Egypt. That's what the scenes is. The scenes that ended up over in Qumran, the Edomites, but they started in Egypt when the Greeks first showed up. When Ptolemy became Egypt, and that region was given to Ptolemy, one of Alexander's generals, and they Hellenized it. That's who this character is. Serapis. He's a god that was concocted once the Greeks came into Egypt and had access to Egypt, and then they synchronized they Zeus, they Greek gods, with Egypt gods, and they came up with Serapis. This at the beginnings of when the Greeks came on the scene. Okay, so let's keep going for you to understand. We're gonna break this all the way down because we got I see I'm having characters that's coming up and information being delivered to them, but they ain't getting it. So being we in 23, Daniel 8 and 23 says, and in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a king of these same people. We just saw one, Ptolemy, they transferred him to a god, made an image of him, right? So now we see in 23, at the end of this was at the beginning, Ptolemy at the beginning, but at the end, in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. So here you go right here, right? So don't let this roll off like water on a duck back, cause you ain't gonna make it. So this character came on the scene right here. We're dealing with the process on how we got to where we at and how we got usurped as a people, and the Most High's temple got destroyed. Okay, so here we go. Then this guy came on the scene, Ptolemy. He came on the scene when I just read it. Let's look at it. It says 24, and his power shall be mighty. This Daniel 8 and 24. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully. He shall prosper, practice, and he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So that's what Gabriel just told him in verse 19. The nation of Israel coming to an end. This is the character right here. One of the characters he used. And he came and did just what he said he's going to do. And so let's read that. Okay, I'm in First Maccabees. You know, like I said, we having dialogues, and this information is coming out in bits and pieces. So I felt the need to give you a video so you can follow along and get it. So it says right here, based on what Daniel had prophesied, it came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, the son of Philip, who had came from the land of Checham, had utterly defeated Darius. This all clockwork, right? Darius, the king of Medes and Persians, that he reigned in his stead, and he had before reigned over Greece. And he waged many wars, captured fortresses, slaughtered the kings of the earth, and he made his way to the ends of the earth and despoiled a multitude of nations. The whole earth was silent before him. He became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. He mustered a very mighty army, and he ruled over lands and over rulers of heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards he fell sick, and he knew that he was going to die, so he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. So here we go, when he divided his kingdom up. His servants succeeded him, each in his own dominion after their deaths. And they all put on crowns, as did their sons after them, for many years. And they did much evil on the earth. And there sprang from them a sinful shoot named Antiochus Epiphanes. That's this guy right here. Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Son of King Antiochus. He had been a hostage in Rome. That's the fourth beast. And it haven't came yet. And he became king. This is the king of fierce countenance in the 143rd year of the Greek kingdom. And in those days there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many, saying, "Let us go and make a treaty with the heathen around us. For ever since the time we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us." So I want to stop right there, because we was talking about this last night. It's two baskets of figs. Most High let you know in Jeremiah, it's two baskets of figs, right? So we noticed that when he brought Nebuchadnezzar, he had Nebuchadnezzar to take the righteous figs, the righteous Israelites, out of the land, because he got a plan to get rid of the wicked ones, right? He's gonna root out the wicked, but he don't want to root them out along with the righteous. So he brings Nebuchadnezzar to take the righteous out. Then he go to work on the wicked. Well, we're looking at the same thing right here. Let's look what they say. Let us make a treaty with the heathen round us, for ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. So we know that the righteous one was sent out into Africa. But he's gonna deal with the wicked ones, and this is what they do right here. So they said they made a plan with the Antichrist, which is Antiochus. This plan is this 7-year plan that they made. They made a plan with him. So let's look at what the plan was. So remember in Daniel, he just said, I just read in Daniel, he said this king was gonna 25, and through his policies, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many, and he shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without end. So let's look at this. So he said the plan seemed, this in Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 13. The plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king and authorized them to introduce practices of the heathen. See that? They're getting away from what their culture, what they was. This is the beginnings of it. This Antiochus right here. So he says, introduce practices of the heathen, and they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem in the Hebrew fashion, and they submitted to uncircumcision. So the circumcision that our forefather was introduced to our forefather Abraham, they rejected it right here. They disowned the holy agreement. That's the agreement. that the male children would be circumcised. It says, and they allied themselves with the heathen, with the Gentiles, and became slaves of wrongdoing. And when this rule appeared to Antiochus to be established, he conceived the idea of becoming king in the land of Egypt, so that he might reign over 2 kingdoms. So let's look at that. So I just showed you who Ptolemy was, and Ptolemy caused the Egyptians to make him into a god. So they made his image of Serapis. So Antiochus come on the scene. Antiochus wants to rule that region. It's already a god there, a Greek god, they concocted Antiochus. Serapis. So this man right here goes to Egypt. He conquered Egypt. Now he ruling the Greeks and the Egyptians that's in Egypt and in Judea. This the beginning. This the process. This the foundation being laid for the world that we're dealing with today. So let's look at what he done. So he got an idea in his mind. He wanted to also rule it over in he wanted to rule in Egypt. So let's look at it that quick. So when this rule appeared to Antiochus to be established, the rule that he got in Judea, he conceived the idea of becoming king in Egypt, so that he might reign over 2 kingdoms. So he's gonna bring them together. He's gonna bring together what's going on in Egypt and what's going on in Judea, right? So it says, so he entered Egypt with a strong force, and with chariots and with elephants and cavalry and a great fleet, and he made war with Ptolemy, king of Egypt. And Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many fell wounded, and they captured the walled cities in the land of Egypt, and he plundered the land of Egypt. After subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, Antiochus turned back and came up against Israel. This is 3.5 years later, right? Keep that in mind, right? So he says, and he turned back and came up against Israel, entered Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary and took the gold altar, the lampstand, the light, the furniture, the table of presentation. This is the same thing Nebuchadnezzar did, but it's not in the King James, right? So, in his arrogance, and he went into the sanctuary, and he took the gold altar, the lampstand, the light, the furniture, and the table of presentation, bread, cups, the bowls, the censers, the curtains, the crowns, the gold ornamentation on the front of the temple, the Lord's house. For he stripped it all off, and he took the silver and the gold, choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he found. He took them all and went back to his own country, and he massacred people, and he spoke with great arrogance, right? And there was a great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away. The beauty of the women was altered, and every bridegroom began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved. The very earth was shaken over the inhabitants, and the whole house of Jacob was covered with shame. So this right here is where the abomination that make it desolate. Right here. It was already predicted. So the Most High brought these people to destroy his house. And this happened right here, 143 BC. So this guy ruling over, he got him a god already that's been established in Egypt, Serapis. Now he came in and he destroyed the Most High's temple. And he done ran his people out. So that's the beginnings, foundation of what we're dealing with today, the New Testament and all that. Right? So this is where they went to work here, right here at this point. Okay? So with that understanding, let's go into anybody got any comments so far? Everybody good? Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna go to Matthew, right? We're gonna look at like I said, everything been established for them to go to work on. The objective is to take the culture and everything that was given to the Israelites in order to keep everything in place keep the foundation of the earth intact and everything in righteousness. So they don't want that. So because Israel wouldn't do right, the Lord allowed them to come in and do what they done. So let's look at Matthew. And like I said, by now you should know what's right and wrong in our culture. And so when you see something that's being done and you know it ain't right, we know it ain't come from Israel. It had to come from somewhere else. So I'm in Matthew. This one, when Matthew is being used, he's one of the four Gospels. He's being used to bring in Jesus, bring in the New Testament, and bring in the pagan concepts into Jerusalem, into Israel. And not only that, these Edomites, where Alexandria came from and where Antiochus came from, is in the land of Israel. The Israelites ain't there no more. They gone. So let's look at Matthew and look at some of the things that was going on in Matthew. Let me get it. Okay. I got a lot of information, man. You gotta give me a minute. Okay. So Matthew is where they use the book of Matthew. There's a group of Edomites, but they use the book of Matthew to hijack the Lord's house. That's where it started. Matthew. Okay, so it says we in Matthew chapter 12. Tie your shoes up. Okay, I'm in Matthew chapter 12. Let me get it. Okay, so this we know the Sabbath day. Sabbath was established in the beginning. 6 days the Most High worked, and then 7 days rested. So that was set in place from the beginning to keep the Shabbat. And you can't do nothing on the Shabbat, right? And so they came and they used Serapis. I told you they already had a god that they concocted in Egypt before Antiochus came. So once he got established and conquered Egypt, they done raised up this god, Antiochus Epiphanes, but they got it hidden. You don't see nothing about it in the scriptures nowhere, so you don't see that. But Serapis is a concoction from Horus, and then from Serapis Jesus came. They concocted him from those two characters before him. Okay, so now we say we in Matthew chapter 12 with that understanding. It says, at that time, Jesus on the Sabbath day, before all this happened, David was the Messiah. First Samuel 16 tell you the Most High told Samuel, go to Jesse's house in Bethlehem, and my Messiah is there that I chose. Saul was chosen by the people, so he said, the Messiah I chose. I'm choosing this Messiah, David. Go to Jesse's house, and then I'll show you who he is. So when you know the story, and Jason, when he got there, he viewed some of Jesse's sons, and finally David was chosen. And every other king after David come out of David's loin. So David is the blueprint. David is the Messiah. So let's look at the story with that understanding. It says, at that time, this is Matthew chapter 12, verse 1. At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungry. And he began to pluck the ears of corn to eat, right? That's a no-no. That's on the Shabbat. So he plucked the ears of corn on the Shabbat, right? Now, 2. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, the disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day, right? It says in verse 3, but he said unto them, have ye not read, check it out, have ye not read what David did when he was hungry, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God right? The Lord of hosts house, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat. Therefore, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profaned the Sabbath and the blameless? So he is okay. You gotta look at what they didn't position him to be. He's supposed to be God. Father the Son, and Father the Son is the same. He God. So in this verse right here, he says in verse 3, but he said, in order to justify uh, or plucking corn on Shabbat, he says that, but he said to them, have you not read what David did? Well, hell, I thought he was the Messiah. If you're the Messiah, why you pattern what David did when ate the showbread? David ate the showbread because he the Messiah. But now notice it's written in red. Okay? He said unto them, have you not read what David did? Well, hell, I thought David was a type of Jesus. I thought David was a precursor to Jesus. So why is he referring to what David did? He supposed to be the Messiah. Let that ferment. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna go to we in Matthew, like I said. So I'm in 12 through 16. This where the house was actually stolen at right here. So I'm in 21, Matthew 21. Right. Let's look at it. You can go back and look at these, if it ain't coming across to you at the moment, you can go back and look at it. So I'm in 21. This the cleansing of the temple, right? We just read it when the temple got destroyed with Antiochus. Antiochus destroyed the temple. So you got to ask yourself, what temple is this that Jesus dealing with? So I'm in verses 12 through 16 says, and Jesus went in unto the temple of God, cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, is it written, my house? See that? Now we started this conversation out. It's the Lord of hosts house. Let's read it. Let's read it again. Let's read it again. I mean Zechariah chapter 14, right? Read it again, just for in your ears. Let the scripture speak. Okay? So it says, oh man, Zechariah 14, right? Says 20. In that day, 14 and 20, in that day shall there be upon the bells of horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots of the Lord's house shall be like the bowl before the altar. 21. Yea, and every pot in Jerusalem is what JC at. Every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. To that, unto the Lord of hosts. And if that's and all that sacrifice shall come and take them and see it therein. And in that day there shall be no more Canaanites in the house of the Lord of hosts. Now let's look at what JC just said. Okay, he just said right here. It's written in red, verse 21 and 13. And he said unto them, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye made it as a den of thieves. Now all of a sudden, the JC house. This is where the hijack happened right here. So 14, and the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he had did, and the children crying in the temple, and the sayings, Hosanna of the Son of David, they were sore displeased. And he said unto him, hear thou what they say. And Jesus said unto them, yea, have ye Have ye never read, out of the mouth of babes and out of sucklings thou hast perfect praise. So anyway, like I said, in verse 13 it says, he claimed his house. All of a sudden now, Matthew, they're using Matthew to write it in red, that all of a sudden the JC house. What we see back in Zechariah, the house belonged to the Lord of hosts. It's the Lord of hosts house. So let's go to Matthew 8 in verse 5 through well, let me go back. Like I said, I got a bunch of information. Y'all have to bear with me. So let me go right here right quick. You know, you got the first Caesars in the first four beasts. You had Julius Caesar. You had Tiberius. Let me get them right quick. I can't remember all of them. I got it wrote down. So you had Julius Caesar. And what I want to shine a light on is the I-U-S that's on the end of their names. Julius Caesar. You got Octavian, Tiberius. You know, Tiberius. Okay, you got Caligula, Claudius. So this a house, and this house go back to, when you understand what's going on, this house go back to the Canaanites, or the descendants from the fallen angels. So we know how many angels, fallen angels there were, 200. Each one of them had a house. And so when you go to the book of Enoch, that's what the Most High told Enoch to go tell them. He's going to destroy their children. They crave and they worship their children because they wasn't supposed to have no children. But when they came down and slept with the women, they got these giants. And the Most High, before he had those angels to bound those fallen angels in the earth, in different places in the earth, he told them he wanted them to see him, watch them destroy their children first, because they were never supposed to be. They was an abomination. But we know that didn't all happen. So that's where these lineages coming from. Specifically this one right here, with Julius Caesar, Tiberius, Crassus, all them kinfolks. It's a house, it's a lineage of people, and they believe to be superior than everybody else. That's why they deal with everybody else the way they did. And so, like I said, for reference, I told you to check out Spartacus, the series Spartacus, or the series on Rome, and you'll see how arrogant these Romans was, and the reason they being was that they thought they were superior than all other humans on earth. They thought they had a right to enslave them. So let's look at how they brought this house of Iusus into the New Testament. Let me get it. Matthew chapter 8. In Matthew chapter 8. Like I say, you want to write this down, backtrack if you want to. Matthew chapter 8. Yeah, so this the centurion, right? Right, and you don't see no centurions in the Old Testament. But anyway, chapter 8, verse 5 says, when Jesus entered into the Capernaum, this Edomite city, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at the home, sick of palsy, grievously tormented. So let's look at that right quick before I go any further. I'm gonna go to show you something. Like I said, I got a truckload of information here. You're gonna excuse me. So I'm in 2 Samuel right quick. Set the stage for what I'm getting ready to show you. 2 Samuel. Okay. One minute. Okay. I think it's in chapter 6. 1 minute. Yeah, so I'm in 2 Samuel chapter 6. And these, I told you, these Canaanites are descended from these fallen angels. And because they mixed, the mixture that happened is angelic beings, angelic DNA was mixed with human DNA. It don't mix. That's where a lot of these defective traits that we see today in people. And the Most High said that's why He told us not to mingle with them. Like I said, these giants, they had all kind of issues. They were giants, had massive strength and all that, but they had a lot of defects on them. One of them was they grow too fast. And then a lot of them didn't really live as long because they had all these defects. So I'm in 2 Samuel chapter 6. This is when David took Zion, right? And it was told King David saying, the Lord have blessed the house of Obed. No, I'm in the wrong place, man. Yeah, I'm in chapter 5, verse 6. Sorry about that. So chapter 5, verse 6 says, and the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, these giants, Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, who spake unto David, saying, except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come in hither, thinking David cannot come in hither. So you got in the process of having, and we see that even to the day, these the Caucasians, they can only have, people thinking that they so intelligent or whatever, and they have 1, 2, 3 kids, and then we being Israelites having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. We animalistic. We can't control our sexual desires, and that's why we have all these kids. But we the original people, we the Israelites. But they can only have, they lucky to have 1 kid, and the kid come out legitimate because they have so many defects. And that's why they only have 1 kid, 1 or 2 kids, because and then if they might have 3 or 4 more, but they in some home somewhere because they got so many issues. So he says in verse 6 of 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 6, and the kings and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, and the inhabitants of the land, who spake unto David, saying, except thou take away the blind and lame. That's part of the process. That's part of their culture. They know they got blind and lame. So he said that you think you can come up here? They in a megalithic city because it's a big megalithic walls. So they say you think you can come in here and then you're gonna deal without the blind and the lame, right? We know Israel ain't had no blind and lame. So verse 7 says, nevertheless, David took the stronghold. Check it out. David took the stronghold of Zion, and the same is the city of David. And then verse 8, and David said, on that day, whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites. So this is the Jebusites, right? The lame and the blind that are hated of David's soul, right? He shall be chief and captain. So David hates the lame and the blind. So why is he gonna hate the lame and the blind if it's lame and the blind in Israel? It's only associated with them at this particular time. It's only associated with them, the lame and the blind, humpbacks and all that. So David said he so hate the lame and the blind, cause they understood where the origins of it, where all this came from. So David so hate the lame and the blind, right? So I had to go there to show you that. So I'm back over here in Matthew chapter 8 and verse 5. This is Jesus right here. Now David, I showed you David the Messiah, and his soul hates the lame and the blind. So we're in chapter 8, verse 5. And when Jesus was entering into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, is a Roman soldier of high rank, beseeching him and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home, sick of palsy, lame and blind, right? Palsy and grievously tormented. That's called the DNA, right? And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him. See that? So David's soul hate the lame and the blind. Jesus healing them. Come on. The origins of it is from the disobedience of the fallen angels coming out sleeping with women. That's where it's coming from. So he says, and Jesus said unto him, I will come and I will heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come unto my roof, but speak the words only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and unto another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. And when Jesus heard it, he marveled and said unto them that followed, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I have not found so great a faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and the west, and shall sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. See, right here. This where the Most High divided his rights. He took Adam, he made a man and a woman on the 6th day, and then he made Adam on the 8th day. He took Adam and separated him from the man on the 6th day, put him in the garden. He don't want them together. JC telling you right here, verily, verily, I say unto you, I have not found so great a faith, not in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and from the west, and shall sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. He bring them together. Most High got them separated. He telling them they are holy people unto himself. He's giving them laws to stay separated from him. JC right here, through the New Testament and through this written in red, bringing everybody together, mingling them, intermingling them. Most High said, don't mingle. Okay, this is how we got usurped. Okay, so dealing with the same thing, dealing with this house of which was the first dynasty in Rome. Was these IUS. It's a race. It's a race of people that descended from these fallen angels, right? So let's see how he brought them in. I mean, let me get Acts chapter 10. Okay, Acts chapter 10. Let's look at it. Acts chapter 10. Right, here we go. This Cornelius. See that IUS on the end of it? It's subliminal. Okay, that's Cornelius out of this household, right? So there was a certain man in Caesarea. Caesarea is an Edomite city that Herod built. Ain't no Israelites there. So it says there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius. A certain of the band called the Italian band. See that? At Rome. Take them right back to Rome, right? So it says a devout man, and and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming in to him, saying unto him, Cornelius. An angel talking to these Edomites all of a sudden, and to these Gentiles, an angel, right? And 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, he know him already. This Cornelius know the Lord. See, and when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God. And now send me sent men to Joppa and called for one Simon, whose surname is Peter, and he lodged with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside, right? He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called two of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him constantly. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. So right here we see, then verse 9, this Peter. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour, and he became very hungry. Check it out, how they setting you up. He became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance. Right? They got this from Numbers chapter 24. Baal, I mean not Baal, but Balaam fell into a trance. Right? It says, and he became very hungry. 11. Verse 10 says, and he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven open, and certain vessels descending upon him, as it had been a great sheet net at the four corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all the manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, eat, kill and eat. And Peter said, No, so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And a voice spake unto him again and said, second time, What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common. So, right, I just showed you where they usurped David, the Messiah. They usurped the Sabbath. Right here, now he's telling them a sheep came down and he can eat unclean meat. He in Cornelius' house. An angel came and told him he could eat pig. That's what that's telling me. So this, I'm making this obvious. What happened? How the Lord's house got hijacked. Okay. So let's go to a little further than that. We're gonna stay in Matthew. So the name. Let's look at that. We see in Isaiah. We're gonna look at the Lord of hosts keep telling you constantly that about his name, right? So we in Isaiah chapter 47. We in Isaiah 47. Okay. Look at it. Isaiah 47 and 4. Isaiah 47 and 4 says, As for our Redeemer, we go, this is Savior. Redeemer and Savior is synonymous. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. See that? He keep telling you his name. So Isaiah 54 and 5. Isaiah 54 and 5 says, For thy Maker is thy husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth, shall he be called. So notice he's the God of the whole earth. He ain't trying to rule nothing in heaven. He ain't trying to be the God of the heavens. He says, For thy Maker is thy husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth, shall he be called. So that's 54. And then we go to Exodus 23. Everybody should be familiar with that verse, but let's go there. Exodus 23. Going somewhere with this. So 23 and 20 says, this is the Lord of hosts. Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai and he told Moses, Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, obey his voice, provoke him not. He will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. So based on the verses we just read, that's the Lord of hosts. Most High told Moses and the Israelites at Mount Sinai, this angel got my name in him. And that's why he's so adamant about for his name's sake. Now let's see how they usurp that. So now I'm in Acts chapter 4. This is how they usurped it. Okay, Acts chapter 4. Acts chapter 4, verse 5. We see the Redeemer is telling you his name is Lord of Hosts, right? The Savior is Lord of Hosts. And he has Yahweh name in him. Now we in Exodus chapter 4, verse 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, right? Neither is there salvation in any other, right? Paul wrote this. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name. See that? Under heaven, given among men, whereby we must be saved. Let me read it again. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven, given among men, whereby we must be saved. We hear the Christian, so-called Messianic Hebrew Israelite quoting the same verse. They say they're Israelites, but they quoting this verse. Well, let's go back where we just was at. Isaiah. Look what Isaiah said. Isaiah, come on. Let me get it, man. Isaiah chapter 54. Right quick. Isaiah 54 and 5. Right? Isaiah 54 and 5 says, for thy maker is thy husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. And thy Redeemer, Savior, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth. Where the earth at? Ain't the earth under heaven? The earth is under heaven. So let's go back in Acts. Acts chapter 4, verse 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved. So, I mean, if that ain't a direct conflict, if they ain't a direct conflict, I don't know what it is. That's the total opposite of what Isaiah just told you. He said the Lord of hosts is the Redeemer. The Lord of hosts possess salvation. He's the God of the whole earth. Now here go this character right here. He's is no other name used except his under the earth, under heaven. This is how we got hijacked. Right here. Okay, let's look at Matthew. I get this. This is the last one. Matthew. Like I said, I'm gonna make a day out of this. I'm gonna have a part 2 in the evening Shabbat. So I'm in Matthew chapter 8. Okay. Matthew chapter 8. Okay. Matthew chapter 8. I don't know if I already read this or not, but I'm in Matthew chapter 8. Yeah, so check this out. I'm in Matthew chapter 8. Let me see. Okay. Y'all still there?
Yes.
Yeah, Matthew chapter 8 says, check it out. It says, when he was come down from the mountain, a great multitude followed him. So I don't know about nobody else, but so let's look at it. When he was come down from the mountain, a great multitude followed him. Did Moses come down from the mountain? Let that front me. Said 2, and behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand, touched him, saying, I will be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said unto him, See, thou tell no man, but go thy way, show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that that's most common, that Moses commanded for the testimony for a testimony unto thee. See that? Just think about that. And behold, we came down from the mountain, and behold, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Lord, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. Come on. So, anyway, with that being said, anybody got any comments or questions so far on anything? Everybody good? Yeah, so I want to shine a light on one more thing. I told you that when we was reading in Maccabees how that Antiochus not only subdued Judah and fulfilled the prophecy in Daniel 8 and brought the Israelites to the nation of Israel to an end and destroyed the Most High, the Lord of hosts' house, but he also went to Egypt and he conquered Egypt. So now he in possession of the apostasy that these Gentiles is doing in Egypt. They didn't create a god, Serapis, and so now he got control of both of those situations. He got control of Egypt. You got his kinfolks, which is the 29th dynasty from Bartholomew. The Edomites, he brought all of them together. Judea and Egypt is all that's working together. And so you see signs of that because of the Egyptians was baptizing, not the Israelites. You don't see no Israelites, none of our forefathers in the Old Testament baptizing. Baptism came from Egypt. It was born of a virgin. Horus was born of a virgin. All this stuff come out of Egypt, and it happened when the Greeks, the time of the Gentiles started, when the Greeks came on the scene. They had possession of Egypt, and they had possession of Judea. It wasn't no Israelites. Okay, so let's look at that right quick. Give me a minute. Okay. Let's look at this right quick. We'll get through with it. Okay, here we go. Okay, see right here behind me? Let me enlarge. See behind me right here? It's the temple that Herod built. And like I said, the title of this is Lord's house got hijacked. This Terry, Edomite built this temple. But what I want to show you on here, if you look at it, here go the scenes right here. Down at the bottom, say a scene gate. It's in the back gate. And if you go out this back gate right here, you're gonna go to Qumran, the desert, the mountains back there. So they got the scenes that came out of Egypt. They got access to this temple right here. They had enough nerve to see everything on here. Everything you see in the Bible on here. The palace of Helen. All this Greek. The Hasmonean palace. That's the Hasmoneans as well. Maccabees tied to. All this stuff around here, but not understanding it, is tied to the Greeks. So these are scenes. These people that was up in the Qumran caves where they supposedly found these Dead Sea Scrolls at. They had a VIP access to the temple in Jerusalem with Herod built. There it is. See all that? Tell you. Right. So that's how we get the New Testament, and that's how we get the ideologies and the way we think today is from what I just showed you. It was all a concoction. It was set up. It got set up, and it's prophesied in Daniel that he's going to bring the nation of Israel to an end, and that we was going to end up with the Gentiles, new gods, newly raised up gods. I'm showing you the process, how they did it. Let me read that. Then we'll close out. So it tells you right here in Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32. This is a song Moses sung to the Israelites, prophesying to them. You can read it. But read it with the intent. What the intent was Moses prophesying to them what they're gonna do after he leaves. So we get to verse 16. They provoked him, the Lord of hosts, with strange gods, lowercase, small fallen angels, and idols. With abominations they provoked him. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, new gods. They came newly up, whom their fathers feared not. Our fathers got cut off. Daniel tells you, that's what Daniel's telling you, Israel got cut off as a nation. The abomination of desolation came. And after that, new gods, like we just read in 17, Deuteronomy 32 and 17, they sacrificed unto devils, not to God, the gods whom they fought, who they knew not, to new gods. They came newly up, whom their fathers knew not. Right? Then verse 18 is what I want to do before I close out. Is I was talking about earlier from Psalms 18 that the sister brought up. It says, of the rock that begot thou art unmindful, and has forgotten God that formed thee. So we see right here, the rock right here in the Old Testament in Deuteronomy is the Lord of hosts. Right? But when you go to the New Testament, Jesus is the rock. And like I said, we see how they usurped us and changed the understanding of things and flipped it all around. Okay? So like I said, anybody got any comments?
Shalom, everyone. I was when you was talking about earlier about the how their children look with all the defects and so forth.
Right.
I thought about in Leviticus, right, where he tells us the sin of incest, right. So in Leviticus, even the way he told us how to conduct ourselves,
right,
we just kept doing the opposite. Even when he was telling us not to mix the animals, they do that today.
Right.
So everything that we were told not to do, the Gentiles do.
Right.
Everything about them is evil, right, and pagan, and from prostitution, the whole 9 yards, to the point to where they're still in our girls, sex trafficking them.
Right.
Yeah, it's all wickedness. So in Leviticus 18, it says, this is verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. And he was telling us that for a reason.
Right. And all they did was brought the New Testament in and put their ordinances in it.
Right, yes.
And attached our book. Like I said, same with our forefathers. They denigrated. They came in and denigrated our forefathers. Like I said, Moses, before the flood, was perfect. After the flood, he was drunk.
Right.
Jacob, a usurper. Abraham, Jacob was so righteous that Abraham, when he passed away, Ishmael, Isaac was there in his tent, Jacob was there in his tent, but Abraham decided to go and pass and give up the ghost in Jacob's tent. So that tell you something. Jacob had a whole lot of respect from Abraham, but let them tell that Jacob was a usurper, a trickster. So then they turn around and take they forefathers and put them in a good light, like Job. Job from the land of Uz, which is, if you go look in the scriptures, under Abraham, under Esau's descendants, that's the land of Uz is from is it Canaan, is Israel, Edomite land. That's where Job was from. And not only that, Job the one gave the Pharaoh the idea of throwing the Israelite boys in the water, drown. He the one gave him the counsel on that.
Right.
Well, anybody else got anything? Okay, everybody good? So, like I said, I'm gonna deal with this. This is part one. I'm gonna deal with part two tonight. Try to make a day out of it, Sabbath day out of it. So nobody have none. I'm gonna say shalom. Let me get this. Say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody. That's in the book of Jasher about Job. Yeah, let's say shalom, shalom, everybody. I see you tonight at 6.
Shalom, everyone.